So today I'm going to be taking a look at a 14-day challenger, but small little quick announcements. Portrait Studio sale will start the 20th of this month. It will go down to 50% off, flat 50 from where it used to be, so down to like $40. Then it's usually less than 50, then usually 95 that it was at before after taxes. So I hope that you guys take advantage of this sale. Anybody who's waiting for Portrait Studio to go on sale, now's the time. It's sale season again. Things are just coming to a close this year, and I just want to always provide the sale, at least for Christmas season. Anyone who wants to grab Portrait Studio and improve their educational experience. I will upload some promo videos. I will upload some detailed videos about what it is that Portrait Studio offers if you've never seen it in action, and I will try to use it more often in Critique Hour just to show you its power. Abu is still back on the update campaign, I guess. So he will be, I hate that word, that's my least favorite word now, campaign. But he'll start uploading some updates about the update and what's coming, changes, especially the Control Z change, which she's working tirelessly into providing for you guys. So look out for the sale. And then we have Patreon. If anyone's interested in Patreon, we are finishing the year with one more assignment for the patrons, the last 2020 assignment. If you guys want to get in on that, it's a really cool assignment, and you will still have access to previous assignments should you want to attempt them. So just because September, November passed does not mean that you guys can't do all these challenges. You can do the Halloween challenge, you can do the Midsummer challenge, you can do challenges all the way back in January. You just have to scroll up to the announcements text channel in the private Discord and attempt them. You still have access to the critique hours and the lessons that were for each challenge, because I post one for each challenge, and just take advantage of the knowledge there. So that's for apprentice tier. But yes, the last assignment, if you guys want to make it for 2020, has been uploaded already. So if you guys want to come in, you can go do that through patreon.com/Istebrak. So today I'll be taking a look at this piece here. I already loaded it. No, I didn't. This one. Because it's got a couple of issues with it that are that I can't ignore, and I just hate when this happens. All right, I hope this is a JPEG. Sometimes, for some reason, off of Reddit, I get a corrupted file. I'm not sure why. Maybe I drag it too soon. I do always wait until it says, it doesn't even let me drag till it's loaded, so it's not that I'm dragging it too early. I'm not sure why, but sometimes I get corrupted files. Maybe you guys should make sure you upload JPEGs. Just upload JPEGs just to be safe. I'm not sure what it is about PNGs and compression and whatnot. This piece here, it's got a lot of issues on it, and I'm not sure where to start. And the thing is that it's well rendered. You know what I mean? That's what happens when you do 14-day challenges without getting enough critique. That your technique is great and your technique is getting better and your blending looks better, but the form feels off, the anatomy feels off, the likeness feels off, the gender feels off. My precious, exactly. Crunch the quality of the piece. I'm not so concerned about distorting quality of colors if you upload on JPEG, just because I destroy each piece that comes in anyway. I'll adjust it accordingly. So I don't really care about color compression quality or whatnot. You guys shouldn't be worried about that shit. You guys aren't printing paper. Yeah, I mean, you're not printing images or anything like that. So you don't need to worry about that stuff. But let's get started. So I'm going to start off by just fixing the piece on the canvas, just so it's perfectly centered. So first thing I want to fix, which is absolutely fucking killing me, is, did I merge it? No, it's okay. Is the ears. I'm not sure why you spent so much RAM working on the ears, but let's just fix them. Let's get them out of the way. I've talked before about ears and why ears are a very scary thing to mess around with, because you are misrepresenting the character. When you have ears that look like this, you're pretty much creating a silly character. So one good example, it's everywhere actually, is character design across the board. Look, pick a movie and discover the tropes, analyze the tropes. Who's the hero? Who's the silly sidekick? They all have silly sidekick ears. Do you know what I'm talking about? Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. So when we have the main character, we want to give them this angular shape, and we are painting main characters for 14-day challenges because it's part of your portfolio. Yeah. So what are some other things that we see on that silly sidekick character, that comic relief character? If anyone can answer, that we can't do on these more sophisticated, I say, like, you know, I guess I can say that main character looking characters for a 14-day challenge. What are some other things we can't pull off? So one of the things that I know you can't mess around with is head shape. So if you have a silly head shape, you're going to have a silly character. And that needs to be corrected. A silly head shape really is just when the sides are pinched. Like an eggplant, right, Abu? And we're just tucking in the shape of the head. So it's a bit more square and less circular. Another thing that makes characters look silly is not just the shape of the ears and the fact that they orbit or too far away, is their size. So again, if you have floppy ears, I don't care. It's not really about judging, you know, features off, you know, your character or your beauty. It's about characters and drawing characters and casting. If you have big ears, you're gonna have a very limited range of who you will be cast as an actor. And so that's why that Merlin actor fixed his ears, because it was really hard to cast him as non-silly comic relief characters. Because if you ever watched that show, Merlin, he's very silly, Merlin. And he kind of just like has a lot of those silly, quirky moments, and it's the ears help. The ears definitely help. But when you talk about the same actor in a drama series, you can't cast him the same way because his ears were very, very dominantly silly character trope. He was a silly sidekick for the most part, Merlin, in that entire series, because he was Arthur's comrade, right? So that's why you don't want to mess with that. What else is silly? Big wide mouth. Excellent. Big wide mouth can be bad guy also because it's more toothy. Raise his hand slowly. Dumbo ears, definitely disproportionately big, close together eyes. Yes. Very big eyes means a very friendly character. Silly head shape is when the shape is pinched. Yes. Downturned eyes. Yes. You're all describing this character from this movie, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. So he's a silly comic relief character, not someone we take seriously in the story. Big silly eyes, crunched face, big ears. This is the example I use all the time. And you want to be careful with this character because duplicating him, and that's kind of what I feel like you did with the ears, because it's a singular trope. It's not a universal trope. This can be the bad guy. This can be the king. At least with these corrections thus far, this can be the main character. This can be the love interest. This, you know, this fella here, where did I put it? I guess I closed it. This silly little monkey can't be the king, can't be the love interest without it being a silly movie. Do you see what I'm saying? So when we're talking, it's a very small range of things you can use on those ears, which is not to say that big ears are bad. If you have big ears, it's not me talking about that. Some people do reply to the videos saying that, you know, oh, I have this feature or whatnot. But it's to say that in the world of art, you have a very limited range and use for characters with big ears like that. Another thing that makes characters look silly is, let's draw some caricatures together. Okay, so we've got this fella here. He's kind of like a sleepy. All right, and then you've got this guy. Okay, he's got a strong nose, strong chin. Kind of looks like Superman, right? All right, so which of these do you think is the king? Obviously, different stories do different things. This could easily be the king with his lopsided crown. All right, but what we're saying is this is taken less seriously. This is a specific trope. This isn't accessible or usable anywhere else because he's kind of just looks really, really bored. any way you put it, you can give him an overbite, some teeth. I haven't been very good with my sketching lately. All right, and then you can give him an underbite. It works still, you know, it makes him look more heroic. So, bro, that chin can crush a watermelon, right? So what we're saying is that you have a very limited range for this cast, for the casting of this character. All right, so what you were doing is the same thing from the sides. We have ears that look like that, ears that look like that, are very different from the silhouette of ears that look almost difficult to notice. So you think about the angular shape of like a cat or a monkey. Which of these do you feel like is the more honorable creature? You know, they attach the word like an honorable or noble lion. That's kind of what they mean, is that it doesn't have those symbols of silliness. All right, so let's go back to before the Trump joke. Fuck them. Seriously, fuck them. They called us libtards. I remember in 2017, someone called me a libtard on my Facebook art group. So fuck them to death. Anyway, so we fixed the chin as well, which is a big player, as you saw. And I'm just gonna clean that up. Another thing you did is not only confused tropes and mirrored or overlapped tropes, you overlapping age. I don't know why you feel like you need to use the laugh line. Maybe you got bored and you just want to add more information to the area, but a laugh line, like the ears, is a symbol. It symbolizes an age group. When you paint, you don't get away with everything, especially if you're still perfecting your studies and your form and your technique. So you're making these mistakes eclipsed by bad technique. You end up with uncanny valley because you are getting better and better at your technique, but not better at your anatomy. And when you overlay anatomy with really good rendering, you get the uncanny valley. Your values are also very, very muddy, but we'll talk about that in a second. Let's get into some blocking. So we fixed a lot of the characterization, which is how in your notes you can label what I just finished. And then we can move into the sides of the nose and just form. So I'm bringing the shadow of the side of the nose down into the nostrils. The nostrils don't escape the value of the side of the nose that much. And then there's the fact that the nose itself is just way too dark on the sides. It's almost as dark as the eye sockets. Right, so he's starting to look a bit more normal the more we paint. And then there's the fact that you allow the septum highlight to droop lower than the line where the shadow should be starting on the nose in this kind of lighting. Yeah, it's a caricature. Exaggeration is the point. Well, yeah, I was using them to represent them as a symbol. A symbol is a caricature. Basically, uncanny valley equals bad anatomy plus good rendering. Good job, Felipe. Philippe, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. So then we have the structure of the expressions that you have. So you've got some expression that could be a little bit more neutral. And so before I do that, I just want to make sure 100% that we've prepared the stage. So all right, so we have a little bit of shadow lingering at the top. I usually ignore it just because it's, you know, it's I don't feel like it's gonna add a lot just to get rid of a little line. But because I'm not sure if that was a bad lasso job on your part or you're just not good with your forms, I'm gonna clean it up. Seems like it was a bad lasso job. I'm pretty sure you know you gotta get rid of your lines. Top of the object gets light, bottom of the object gets dark. Simple physics. If we look at our basic shapes. So when I get into expressions and portraiture, so it's not so much characterization anymore because we're not talking about tropes, right? This isn't about the ears and the overbite. This is about portraiture and just basics of where to place features in a face, whatever those features end up being. So we have the face feeling like it's too small for the head. You get that feeling like everything is scrunched, like his face stopped growing. And where you place the ears, eyes, and eyebrows kind of feels like you are, you know, placing the ears outside of where they would be on a human skull. Usually the ears, eyes, and eyebrows are all on the same line or a similar line. Yours were a bit lower than. The eyes were much lower than the ears, which is not acceptable. Which is why he looked scrunched. He looked a little bit, it felt a little bit claustrophobic, I guess, for lack of a better term. All right, now he's more eye level or slightly less than. And then I'm gonna liquefy really quickly to just bring down the lobes of the ears. So those really low lobes kind of add to that. So if you ever looked at old people, you see that the ear lobes and nose really droops a lot. And that's kind of how you paint an old person. You droop the ears. That's just something that happens over time. Gravity eventually makes everything droop really low. So I got a nice surprise for me waiting when I'm 60. And then we've got just a little bit more angularity on the ears. Then just tucking them in a little bit more. And I just lowered the ears a little bit lower than the eyebrow line. I might add more space just so he doesn't look like he's looking up, but mostly it's after I fix the eyes and the eyebrows, it'll feel like he's gone back down because I moved everything along the eyebrows as well. I will get into better skin in a second, but before I do, there's that expression I was talking about before. So I'm lowering that. And this will make it feel like his face is looking forward at the camera again instead of downward to the camera. And then I'm just going to extend the shadow in between the two eyes just a little bit. And then carry the light that comes off the forehead down to the nose and thicken the nose up a little because the nose was a bit slender for what I would think is good for a guy. It kind of seems like, you know, guys have bigger noses, not bigger, but like thicker noses, I guess I could say. So you don't want to paint a nose that's too feminine and too long and slender because it doesn't match the face very well. And sometimes guys need a bigger nose. Imagine that guy, like imagine, I'm sure you've all, you know, seen all kinds of faces. So imagine the most manly face you can think of and give them a really, really feminine, thin nose. It just does not work. Sometimes men look good with a bigger nose. So that's kind of what you have to remember when you're painting handsome faces is you're not, I know a nose is, people get nose surgeries and small noses got a lot to do with beauty. But trust me, you really got to think about it. If you got the smaller nose, it would look unnatural. It would not look like it matches the face. Not every surgeon does a good job anyway. And so most of the cases are horror stories. And you know, you're designing the face right now. So try to think about it that way. A thin, slender nose just does not work on a male character. That's supposed to be strong. Think about, like, I know it's weird to mention this, but that's why I never took Trump seriously because his tiny little nose, it looks so weird. But like, it's weird to even mention this. But like Stalin, would Stalin really be who he was? Mussolini, would they really be who they were if it wasn't for their nose, right? Or Napoleon and his nose, very, very strong bone structure. So when you think about designing, commanding forces, not that I'm saying these were great leaders, I'm saying if you're drawing a villain, you don't, unless they're sly little snaky villains, if they're strong military demanding villains, and continuing to talk about tropes, you want to give them a bigger nose because you're talking about strong, strength, military, masculine. You guys got to learn the difference between male and female and tropes as well, not just anatomy, and roles is not just anatomy and like how to cast these actors. You wouldn't just get a slender-nosed actor to be big mustached. His name is that was Stalin, right, with the big mustache, or was that Mussolini? I don't know. I don't know my dictators very well. But I know Saddam Hussein's nose was big, that was for sure. And his mustache. What is it with mustaches? and like Hitler, right? And what is it with mustaches and dictators? Like, what the hell? So I'm just smudging, not over smudging, because I want it to look like a male still. don't want to make it look like soft foundation. I'm bringing in some shadow under the eye and bringing in extra shadow under the for the dark circles. And just to continue the talk on the nose, I feel like the nose is the right size. It's just the eyes still look off to me. You did a good job with the eyes in that they are downturned, but I think the eye socket is a little bit feminine, and the reason why it looks too feminine is because usually the male eyebrow is very low, pushing down all the fat, you know, the fat reserve that is there over the eye. So if we give him actually less upper eyelid space, it'll match what's happening with his masculinity in the eye area. And when we increase that, it looks like he's got eyeliner on or eyeshadow, right? When we want to make our eyes look bigger, women go get a bright eyeshadow and put it on the upper eyelid, which makes the eyes pop, makes them feel bigger because you're adding more highlight as if it's so big it caught more light. That's what a highlighter is. Same thing with the cheekbones. Women go out and get cheekbone highlighters and put them on the cheekbone to catch the light to make it look like the bone structure is stronger on her face. So when you're doing that on a male character, it looks uncanny because it doesn't feel right. And then eyebrows usually for men are thicker and they extend longer. So they don't just cut off here. It kind of looks like a little bit too groomed to cut them off so early. You kind of just got to extend them a little bit low, which adds to that droop effect. And then something that a lot of you forget, I know not every guy has a beard, but I pretty much think that there's enough hair there to drop the values. You guys forget to add in that shadow. So this shadow I also added on my female characters as well because they do have a shadow drop there. We don't notice it. Artists do. And it always feels a little bit off to have the upper lip glowing with light like that because it's just like a milk mustache. It doesn't feel right. And then there's the shadow of the chin on the neck. And I'm just gonna throw in something here. And then delete above the chin line. I pushed in the chin and that squared almost crimson chin kind of just pushed it in a little bit. It was a bit too angular even for a guy. Felt like it was more of a caricature. So you're good at painting, you just got a really weird trope going on that's kind of throwing off a lot of your skill because it makes it seem like, well, obviously your anatomy and your technique are not caught up with each other. Anatomy skill should reflect technique skill because, you know, by the time you get this good in technique, you'll have looked at enough references to know what looks right and what looks wrong. And you'll see in a second what I mean. I'm adding a shadow under the lip just so that we can complete that cylinder. And then I'm going to, and I think you exaggerated the jowls a little bit for his age. You should not be jumping around between age groups when you're doing a 14-day challenge. You should just perfect one individual age group before moving forward. All right, and I blended out the lip as you can see, and I'm going to expand the shadow of the upper lip cylinder. Kind of looks a little flat. I'm not showing the size of the nostrils because it's very feminine to show the upturn of the nostrils. Male noses have a straight nostril pointing forward. And then again, just to reiterate, the bigger nose really does help make a face feel more masculine. Wider and slightly bigger. It might be too big, but okay, so you can just see the before, after. It makes him look a little bit more handsome in the before, but pretty handsome. And I'm trying to stay true to the character you painted, which was a very burly guy or a very strong guy. And then I'm going to darken the background a little bit. And then we have those shine spots, the spots where the skin catches the light. And that's up here somewhere. Under the eyes, so the water there, the nose. Sometimes the nose is a button for a male as well. because of all the beating up that they do. All the boxing. I don't know. Have you guys ever seen the nose of a boxer? Have you ever seen the face of a boxer? It's so distorted and messed up. It's really cool watching, you know, what you need to learn to be a character artist. Like, you've really got to get into UFC. You got to get into fashion design. You got to get it. You have to understand the aesthetics of femme folk and gay aesthetic and the basic metrosexual. You got to understand women's fashion across history, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. You got to understand how the army and how military affected men's clothing. As a character artist, there's so much for you to learn. And if you want to draw a big burly guy, you have to know what a big burly guy's life was like, that it affected his face, so that his bone structure changed because of how many times he's been punched. So it's not just about a pretty boy who has an intact bone structure. It's about a guy who's been punched 100 times, you know? There's a lot left to learn for you guys. But let's look at the before and after just with this, just with these. I don't know what happened over here, but blend it out. This is a very big critique for you. You really got to spend your time with your next 14-day challenge. And just for a quick notice, if you don't know what the 14-day challenge is, go to the community tab on Istebrak.com and scroll down for the Q&A. What is the 14-day challenge? FAQ, Q&A. So you can understand what the heck I'm talking about. And then once you've read through that, go for a female face first before you try a male face, because you want to know one, and you want to know the popular one before you do the exact opposite of that one, just so knowing one will help you do the other. Don't do two at a time, because it's going to really confuse you and throw off the trope knowledge that you're learning as you do a 14-day challenge. See, it's like a well of knowledge waiting for you, and the portrait is a playground for all the rules of anatomy, physics, light on form, better contrast, edges, different types of textures. It's amazing that the portrait is what I always rush for all my private students from private booking. I always make them perfect their portrait. They don't graduate unless I know that they can paint a portrait 100 times better than they did when they first came in, because it's so important. So before, and I'm just going to adjust where he's sitting after. All right, so let me show you the proper before. All right, before, after, before. So what were you doing with those jowls? What were you doing with that, you know, with the laugh lines? Where did his chin go? Why does he have such great chin, but like no jaw? I mean, it's a great jaw, but no chin. Why is his neck so thick? The ears, right? And then after, the ears are still there, but they're not unusually shaped, or almost Shrek ears, right? All right, before, after. Let me just kind of align them better. All right, so before, after. See that slender nose? See what I was talking about? It looks weird. It's too feminine. Doesn't feel like a guy with, you know, size. Yeah, I agree. There's so many similarities between Trump and Hitler. It's so scary. But we did good, right? Democracy won. Let's keep having hope that the next few months are going to be easy. God willing, God protect anyone who's in the line of danger right now. Right, and I left the mouth alone. The nose is generally the same shape apart from the thin nostril cavity and under the bridge. The eyes are the same size. The eyebrows are generally similar, if not thicker and longer. So you are going in the right direction. It's where you're placing things that's a little bit questionable. What the hell is happening with the ears? I just want an actual answer. Find me on Facebook and give me an answer what the heck you're doing with the ears. I just want to know what your intention was, what your reference had. Did you pick the right reference? Were you just trying your best to render an ear and you kind of went overboard? Because that happens. You kind of duplicated the ears as well, so it seemed like you were sick of the ears. You just want to be done with them. It must have not just been a happy experience with the ears. What I'm deducing. All right. The chin has finally given the mouth breathing room, and those unusual laugh lines that represented an age, but the age was only around the mouth, not even no wrinkles on the eyes or anything. It was like a selective age around his nose and mouth area that just threw off the entire age signature and made it seem like we're looking at someone else. And you see how I didn't really darken his mustache. Can you tell? It's a very, very light feathering of paint, but it goes such a long way, eh? See that? Does so much for the portrait. And this is me adding more. This is where it was before. Okay, so take this advice, take some time making sure that what you're representing as a trope is accurate to the cast, what you're casting this character as. You see what I mean by he's very nondescript? We can cast him as anything. We can cast him in the comedic love, whatever, love, comedy, romance, comedy movie. We can cast him in the next Avengers. We can cast him in a Lord of the Rings movie. It's a very universal character. This is not something that, it's uncanny. It's not something we want to use, something we want to see. That's the effect that uncanniness has. So thank you everyone for coming today. If you want to submit your work for Critique Hour, go to istebrak.com and click on the little Reddit icon to join. The current holiday challenge is live and I'm loving what I'm seeing. It's really, really cool designs for animals. There was a spider post somewhere. You guys are doing some ice studies, traditional work as well, which I really encourage. Where are those little spiders? They look so fucking cool. I just want to show you. Really, really cool here. Nice job with the lassoing. Some ice studies. Where are those spiders? Where'd they go? Right here. Really, really cool. I'm just loving it. I cannot wait to see the light shine through that spider. But if you want to know what the challenge is, just scroll up. It's up here. Holiday Design Challenge. Read through it. It's a design prompt. Everything will be uploaded here on Reddit and picked up on the 17th of December at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, the last Critique Hour of 2020. And Portrait Studio will be on sale next week, Friday. The sale will go live. If you want to get Portrait Studio, don't buy it now. Wait, it'll be significantly cheaper. And I hope you guys enjoy using it. I hope you learn a lot from it. I'll do my best Thursday, Tuesday, and the next Thursday to show you its power, show you what it does, just to promote it a little bit. And that's it. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for voting. You guys are heroes. Every American citizen who listens to my classes and voted for Biden, you are my hero. Thank you so much. You voted for me as well. You voted for my benefit. You voted for my health. You voted for my future. You voted for your parents. You voted for your neighbors. You voted for your family. Even if your neighbors were Trump voters, you voted for their benefit as well. You voted for normal. You voted for stable. You voted for humility. You voted for just common sense, for science. You voted for knowledge. You voted for the future. Thank you so much for voting. I owe you so much. I owe you so much. Thank you so much for voting. I'll see you guys on Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you everyone for coming. I love you all so much. And I'll see you then. Bye.